Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today, I will discuss the social norms and values. We'll start from where we left in our last class. In our last class, we were discussing about social norms and values. What are social norms? What are values? These are very important things. These are the basic concepts which should be clear to you. Social norms. What are social norms? Social norms are behavior guidelines that regulates our behavior. In order to maintain peace, in order to maintain a social order, there are certain behavior guidelines which guides the behavior of individual, how an individual should behave in a society so that it should maintain a peace and a social order in society. So what is social norms? Social norms are the guidelines, behavioral guidelines that regulates our behavior, what we should do, what we should not do. It is associated with rule of conduct which are ought to be followed by individuals. There are certain rules which are supposed to be followed by an individual, and individual are supposed to follow the rules of the society, code of conduct, while values refers to some deeply held ideals or beliefs. Norms are the behavior guidelines, norms are the code of conduct, rules of conduct, how an individual are ought to be followed, which an individual ought to be followed, while values are deeply held ideals and beliefs. Values are ideals and beliefs. Values portray ideals, the standard that society would like to embrace and live up to. How a society, how an individual should behave, that is values. Values are ideals and beliefs. There are certain ideals like honesty. Honesty is the best policy. An individual should be honest, honest with work, honest with society, right? But this is an ideal that that an individual should be honest. This is value. These are ideals and beliefs. Everyone should respect and love each other. These are the values which a society would like to opt and live up to. While norms are the behavior guidelines that regulates our behavior, one has to follow this. If you will not follow this, there are some punishments. Some punishments are associated if you deviate from these guidelines. These are the social norms. Social norms are the behavior guidelines, while values are ideals and beliefs that society would like to live on. Culture refers to unique. What is culture? The culture refers to unique pattern of behavior and beliefs specific to a particular society. Culture, any man-made thing is culture, right? It is a unique pattern of behavior and belief, and it is particular to a specific society. Every society has a different culture. There are different norms, there are different values. So culture is a unique pattern of values and norms, beliefs and behaviors. All societies have their own culture. The components of a culture could include symbols, languages, values, beliefs, norms, and material artifact. And culture can be shared, is shared. A role and status is very important. What is role? What is status? It is important to understand what is role and what is status. What is role? Our role are pattern of behavior that we recognize in each other, that are representative of personal social status. Before understanding the role, it is very important to understand the status. Status is used to describe the responsibilities, benefits, and prestige a person experiences depending upon his rank and role in the society. So what is status? So status is nothing. Status describes the responsibilities. Status describes the benefits and the prestige of a person, which a person experiences depending upon his role in the society. What is the role? A role is a pattern of behavior, and it is a representative of person's social status. So, social status is responsibilities, benefits, and prestige of a person. While, according to the status, when a person behaves, then that is known as uh, role. We'll discuss status and role later on in this lecture. Socialization. What is socialization? Socialization is a process through which an individual is learn how to behave and live in a society. It starts from birth and is a continuous process. When a newborn child acquires the social norms, behavior, patterns, beliefs, and values deemed significant and appropriate by his social group. Socialization is when an individual learns the values, beliefs, behavior pattern, which is deemed to be significant and appropriate by the social group. That is known as socialization. And this socialization process starts from birth or at the time of birth, and it is a continuous process. It's a continuous learning process. Socialization, in easier term, what is socialization? Socialization tells us how to behave in a society. What is expected? What is required by the society? How to behave in the society? What are the norms of the society? What are the values of the society? Beliefs of the society? And how should we behave according to the norms, patterns, behaviors, beliefs, right? Socialization serves many functions for society, and most important is to maintain the social order. Why socialization is important? Socialization is a learning process through which we learn how to live in the society, how to behave in the society, and we do this in order to maintain the social order so that there should be no disturbance in the society. Social psychology draws on many concepts and methods of sociology to study the relationship between human and social environment. Max Weber emphasized that influence of culture on human behavior had to be taken into account. So culture plays an important role in the human behavior, and he introduced the word worsening. It's a German word that means to understand in a deep way, right? Then there are certain theories like middle range theories which were given. The concept of middle range theory was developed by the American sociologist R.K. Merton. Middle range theories deals with delimited aspects of social phenomena. According to assumption, according to Merton's assumption of functional unity of society. What is functional unity of society assumption? This assumption states that any part of social system is functional for entire system. All part of society are seen to work together for maintenance and integration of society as a whole. Is doubtful in case of complex and highly differentiated society. So, Merton, according to the middle range theory, it was given by the R.K. Merton, and R.K. Merton has given the assumption that functional unity of society is doubtful in case where society is highly complex and differentiated. What is functional unity of the society? Functional unity of the society is when the whole constituents of the society work together in order to maintain peace and integration of society as a whole. So, where the society is complex and differentiated, it is difficult that functional unity of society. One would not find the functional unity of this society. He postulates some middle range theories to explain certain social process and aspects of social behavior, which do not try to encompass social as a whole. Middle range theories are used by social psychologists to explain certain phenomena. The field theory given by Kurt Lewin is an example of middle range theory. The social psychological theories, such as theories of frustration, aggression, change of attitude, cooperation, and competition, fall under the middle range theories. So, social range theories explains the certain social processes and aspects of social behavior which do not try to encompass the society as a whole. These theories do not try to uh, explain the society as a whole, right? And then symbolic interactionism. What is symbolic interactionism? Symbolic interactionism take into account the mutual influences of society and self that shapes many social processes. George Herbert Mead is one of the influential figures to develop symbol interactionist perspective in field of sociology. In his work, Mind, Self and Society from standpoint of social behaviorist, Mead argued that the meaning is created as a result of interaction with the people. So, symbolic interaction is that George Herbert Mead is one of the figures that develop the symbolic interaction perspectives in sociology, and the social interactionism take into account the mutual influences of the society, how one institution influences the other institutions of the society, and that set the shapes and the social processes, that each and every there are mutual influences in the society, and these mutual influences shapes up the selves and many other social processes. And as per this, the Mead, in the work of the Mead, that is Mind, Self and Society, Mead explained that meaning is created as a result of interaction with the people. How people interact with others, then a meaning is created. There is not well defined meaning of anything, right? Predefined meaning of anything. Meaning is created as a result of interaction with the people. Symbolic interactionism originate from the concern with the language and meaning making. It focuses on the details of interpersonal interaction and how that detail is to use to make the sense of what the others say and do. So, symbolic interaction is concerned with the languages and meaning. It focuses on the meaning. It focuses on the details of the interpersonal interaction, how people interact with each other, how what other says, and how the person interprets the meaning what one says. The meaning we attach to ourselves, other peoples, and the object are negotiated over time. Language and symbols are used to give meaning to everything in the world. So, whether it's a language, it's a symbol, they are used to give the meaning to everything, right? So, now we'll discuss the organizations and institutions. There are certain basic concepts which should be clear to you. So, we'll start with institutions and organization. As we all know, that society is made up of individuals and collectives. It is combination of individuals and collectives. It's a sum total of all the relationship that exist between them. That is, society is composed of what? Society is made up of individuals. Society is made up of collectives, and it is sum total of relationship that exist between the individuals and collectives. All these together forms a society. Both are important, individual as well as the collectives. The sum total of relationship that exist between the various constituents of society forms a society. Society, however, needs to order itself through organizing its various constituents. It is very important for a society to organize its various parts. One of the way in which society orders itself is through institution and organization. So institutions and organization is a way through which society orders itself. It is very important that there should be a order in the society. If society is orderless, it would be difficult to survive in that society. It is very important that there should be a social order. And to maintain the social order or to develop a social order, one of the way through which society develops a order is through institutions and organization. Institution and organization provides the society a fair amount of consistency and predictability, which is essential for the stability of society. What institutions and organizations do? They provide the consistency to the society. They provide the predictability, and these consistencies and predictability are important for the stability of the society. What is institution? Let us start with the institution. First of all, understand what is institutions. Institutions are nothing but the set of rules that structure social interaction. There are certain rules, there are certain well defined rules which states how there should be a social interaction. Institution could be understood as a code of conduct or set of rules and guidelines for human activity. How a individual or human should behave in a particular society. There are certain guidelines, there are certain code of conduct and set of rules which an individual should follow. And these set of rules, guidelines, or code of conduct is known as institution. Institution is nothing but it's a code of conduct or the guidelines or the set of rules for human activities. There are rule for each and everything. There are rules for there are code of conduct for each and everything. So one should follow those rules, those guidelines. Why? In order to maintain social order. Institutions structure human interaction through stated or implied rules and set expectations. Some examples of institutions are laws, education, marriage, and family. These are institution. Marriage is an institution. Why? Because there are certain rules, certain code of conduct for human activities, which is expected from each and every individual that they should follow those rules. Education or the laws. There are certain guidelines, there are certain rules which is supposed to be followed by each and every individual of the society in order to maintain the social order. So, what is institution? Institution is nothing but the guidelines or code of conduct or set of rules for human activities. You cannot behave the way you like. If everyone starts behaving in this society the way they like, then there will be no social order. It will create chaos in society. To maintain the social order, there are certain norms, certain rules which every individual should follow. And these norms, these set of rules or guidelines for human activities are known as institutions. Institutions are components of a society that helps to maintain order, social order, and stability through structuring human interaction and activities. What is the role of institution to maintain social order and stability? We discussed about this. Institutions manifest themselves in terms of overt or implicit rules that structure human interaction. Institution functions through the members of society being socialized into them. How institution works? It works through the members of society. Institutions are components of the society. It is required to maintain the social order, and institution manifest themselves through implicit rules, and institution functions through the members of the society. According to Morris Ginsburg, institutions are definite and sanctioned forms or modes of relationship between social beings in respect to one another or some external objects. So, according to Ginsburg, what is institutions? Institutions are definite and sanctioned forms of relationships. These relationships, there are definite and sanctioned forms of relationships between the social being. Like marriage, it is definite and a sanctioned form of relationship. Family, it's definite and a sanctioned form of relationship. Education system, it is definite and a sanctioned form of relationship between social being in respect to one another or to some external object. Robert Morrison McIver defines institution as established form or conditions of procedures characteristics of group activity. Yeah, these are the established forms or conditions of procedures characteristics of group activities. How an individual will conduct an activity? There is a code of conduct or a well defined procedure. J. Turner defines institution as a complex of positions, roles, norms, values lodged in a particular type of social structure and organizing a relative stable pattern of human activity with respect to fundamental problems in producing life sustaining resources, in reproducing individual, and in sustaining viable societal structure within the given environment. There are certain characteristics of institutions. What are the characteristics of institutions? Institution may not be physical entity. Physical entity because you cannot touch them. You cannot see the institution. Marriage is an institution. Can we touch them? Can we see them? Law is an institution. Education is an institution. So institution may not be a physical entity, but visible in coordination pattern of behavior of member of the society. It could be visible in the coordinated pattern of behavior of member of society, because the members of a society behave in a coordinated manner. And when they behave in a particular manner, in a coordinated manner, then this is known as institution. Institution can help explain the behavior of individual members. Institutions have both restrictive and enabling potential, in that it both constrains the choices available to an individual and defines the ways in which choices are to be exercised. So institutions have both restrictive and enabling potentials. It um, it both constrains the choices available to the individuals and defines the ways in which choices can be exercised. In marriage, it constrains the choices available and it defines the way in which choices are to be exercised. Institution function to forge and reiterates the solidarity among the members of society. Why institutions are required? To maintain the solidarity among the members of society. It structures the interaction between members. Institution can be identified in terms of regular and consistent pattern of behavior that are structured through norms and sanctions. So, how could you identify the institution? Because they are not visible. They are only visible through the coordinated actions of members of society. So, institution can be identified in terms of regular and consistent pattern of behavior that are structured through norms and sanctions. There are no clear boundaries that can be drawn between the norms and institution, but institutions are distinct in that they are consistent and have generalized normative expectations. What are the norms? Again, norms are the guidelines. As at the beginning of the lecture, I told you what is the norms. Norms are the code of conduct, and again, this uh, institutions are again the code of conduct. There is no boundaries, no clear boundaries between the norms and institution, but institutions are distinct in that they are consistent and have generalized normative expectations. Purpose of institutions. What is the purpose of institution? German sociologist A. Galen suggested that humans seeks to supplement their instinctual world with cultural world. And Thomas Luckman elaborates this idea and suggests that human beings compensate for their biological underdevelopment through surrounding themselves with social canopy or religion. Therefore, institutions make a human life meaningful through connecting human beings to their natural environment with the help of intermediate social relationship and symbolic constructs. So institutions, what the institutions do, what is the purpose of institution? Institution make the human life meaningful. How they make the human life meaningful? They connect the human beings to their natural environment. How they connect the human beings to their natural environment? With the help of intermediate social relationship and symbolic constructs. Through symbolic constructs and through intermediate social relationship, it makes it makes a connection between human being and the natural environment. Types of institution. There are various types of institutions. Economic institutions. These are the institutions that corresponds to the production, consumption, and distribution of goods and services. It is related to the economic, that is the production, consumption, and distribution of goods and services. Next is institution of social stratification. These are the institutions that regulate and control differential access to social status and prestige. So social stratification is division, right? There is a stratification, stratums are divided. There are stratas in the society, and institutions of social stratification, it regulates and control the differential access of social status and prestige. It is related, actually social stratification, institution of social stratification is related to access to the social status and prestige. Kinship, marriage and family. These institutions control and regulates the reproduction. Political institutions, they are concerned with regulation and distribution of power. Cultural institutions, they regulate religious, symbolic and cultural practices. Right? So these are the types of institution. Economic institutions related to the economies, that is production, distribution of goods and services. Institution of social stratification related to the related with the social status and the prestige. Kinship, marriage and family. Kinship, marriage and family institutions control and regulates the reproduction. These institutes controls and regulates the reproduction. Political institution concerned with regulation and distribution of power. These are concerned with regulation and distribution of power is political institutions. And cultural institutions, these regulate the religion, symbols and the cultural practices. There are three perspectives of social institution. Let us discuss these perspectives one by one. The functionalist perspectives. What is the functionalist perspectives on social institution? The functionalist perspectives looks at institution as a part of a whole, that is society. So they look the institution as a part of a whole. It's a part of the society. The values of an institution is understood solely in relation to the service it pays for the overall well-being of society. The functionalist perspectives look at the institution as a part of whole, that is society. And the second is the value of the institution is understood solely in relation to the services it pays for the overall well-being of the society. How that institution is important, whether that institution is important or not, it totally depends uh, on the relations to these services it pays for the overall well-being of the society. How that institution helps the well-being of the society. The value of institution depends on its contribution for the well-being of the society. Functionalist perspective suggests that social institutions fulfill the needs of the society through five ways. The functional needs of society that institutional fulfills are: first is replacement of a personal that a society loses as a result of death caused by aging, disease, war, or migration, or because of any other reasons. This is done through the adding a new member by means of immigration or sexual reproduction. Socialization, the second is socialization and education of new member. It is very important to socialize and educate the new member of the society in order to maintain the social order. Then production, circulation, distribution of goods and services among the members of society. If any institution is indulged in production, circulation and distribution of goods and services among the members of the society, then it is good. If any institution helps in socialization and education of the new member of society, then that institution is important, right? Providing an order to day interaction and governance while simultaneously preserving this order through defending against outside attack, threatening the order of society with disruptions. If there is any institution which protects the society from any outsider attack, then that institution is very important. Promoting a sense of belongingness and purpose by allowing people to form and reassert associations such as religion, culture, language, etc. Right? So there are five functional needs of society that institution fulfills. That is replacement of a personal that society, then socializing and education of the society or the new members of the society, and then the economic institution, production, circulation, and distribution of goods, providing or the protecting the society from the external as well as the internal threats, and promoting a sense of belongingness and purpose by allowing the people to form and associations. The second perspective of institutions is conflict perspective. What is conflict perspective? Conflict perspective argues that institution works to establish hierarchies and perpetuates inequalities. Yes, no doubt. That according to this conflict perspective, the institution works to establish the hierarchies, and these hierarchies perpetuates the inequalities in the society. The conflict perspective has stressed how major institutions such as education has worked to privilege the powerful group within the society, and it has created a strata in the society. Conflict perspective further stresses that institutions work towards the maintenance of privilege. So, conflict perspective, according to the conflict perspective, these institution works to establish the hierarchies, and these hierarchies perpetuates the inequalities. And they have explained it with few examples. Like example, they have taken the example of education system that worked to privilege the powerful group within this society. Marriage conflict perspective has taken a example of marriage. Marriage is again an institution, and in marriage, the in marriage, that male has given the upper position and the female has given the lower position, and at times the role played by the women are not so important or overlooked by the society. Conflict perspective further stresses that institution work towards the maintenance of privilege. So, according to this perspective, that institution works in favor of privileges. Next perspective is third perspective is interactionist perspective. What is interactionist perspective? It seeks to capture pattern of how institutions interactional interactionist perspective. It seeks to capture pattern of how institutions frame and feature in interactions and everyday behaviors. Interactionist perspective argues that institutions frames our daily interaction and behavior. So this perspective argues that institution frames our daily interaction and behavior, how we behave in our daily life. It captures, it seeks to capture the pattern of how institutions frame and feature in interaction in everyday behavior. Our day-to-day interaction and behavior are conditioned by the roles and the status we are accorded, the groups we are assigned to within the institution that we function in. Right? So interactional perspective actually try to capture or study how institutions frame and feature the interaction and everyday behavior. Right? It is related to everyday behavior. What is organization? Institution. So I hope this is clear. Institutions are not visible. They are just code of conduct or the guidelines which is supposed to be followed by each and every individual of the society in order to maintain the social order. What are organization? Institutions are not necessarily stated, but they are rather normative expectations that structure interaction between the members of the society. While organization are formal bodies with concrete structure, there is no concrete structure in institution doesn't have any concrete structure. It is normative expectations that structure interaction between members of the society, while organization are the formal bodies with concrete structure. It is a physical entity with a clear defined boundaries distinguishing members from the non-members. There are the organization is a physical entity, while institutions are not the physical entity. While organizations are the physical entity, we can see, we can touch these entities. Organization have a clearly defined boundaries. These organizations have clearly defined boundaries distinguishing between members and non-members. They distinguish between members and the non-members of the society. While institutions are formally unstated, organizations are formally stated bodies. Institutions are socially embedded, consistent, and systematic set of rules. Institutions are the set of rules, and organization is a special case of institution that has specific features. Organizations are the institution, but they have specific features, special specific features. Organization, despite of differences in type, size, spread, efficiency, and specificity of goal, all the above mentioned organization works to facilitate the large scale operation. The organization could differ from each other in terms of type, in terms of size, in terms of spread, in terms of efficiency of the organization, in terms of specificity of the goals. These could be there could these are the certain things in which organization may differ. They have a clear stated and defined goals that they pursue and established hierarchy of authority and chain of command. See, one thing, organization have specific goals. There are certain objectives which an organization is supposed to achieve. So organization have clearly defined goals. There is a well defined hierarchy in the organization, hierarchy of authority and a chain of command. In organization there is a hierarchy of authority and chain of command, while in institution there is no hierarchy, no chain of commands. There are certain rules, not visible. Not institutions are not physical entity, while organizations are physical entities. Organization have size, spread, efficiency, specificity of the goal, and there is a hierarchy of authority and chain of commands in the organization. Organization can also be seen in terms of social action. Insofar, the organization is ability to make decision and acting upon at least some of them. Perspectives of organization. What is the perspective of organization? Amitai Atizani et al. Defines organization as social units that are predominantly oriented to the attainment of specific goals. Remember this thing, organizations are social units that are predominantly oriented towards the attainment of specific goals. Every organization has a specific goals. Like school is an organization. There is hierarchy of authority and chain of command. It has a specific goal. Specific goal is to provide education to the children. Any organization or the office, there is it is a physical entity, there is a chain of command, they have a well defined specific goals, and organization works predominantly towards the attainment of their specific goals. So has every organization is a social unit, and is and every organization works towards the attainment of a specific goal. Every organization has a specific goals. Exene suggested the following as a characteristics of organization, like division of labor, power or responsibilities, such as division being deliberately planned to achieve the certain goals. So there is a well-defined hierarchy, and there is a division of labor too. There is a division of labor, there is a division of power, division of responsibilities, and such division being deliberately planned to achieve certain goals. Why there is a division of labor or power or authority to achieve the certain specific goals. The presence of its structure upon review. It has a well defined structure. Substitution of the personal power center, which control the productivity, monitors its efficiency, and repattern the maintaining healthy employee participants pool, and other who are transferred and are promoted. So, organization, one person can be replaced by the another person. There is a division of organization on the basis of power relationship between the people administering the organization and the lower level participants. The relationship may be based on either compliance, that is, the lower level participants agree to meet the demands placed on them by their superior authorities because of fear of sanction or because of any other things. And second is utilitarian consideration, that is, they are getting returns that are of value to them. Third is shared ideas and values, that is, both the administrative group as well as the lower level participant share similar assumptions, norms, values, and ideas. So organization there are organization is of three types, that is on the basis of compliances, that is when there is a relation. It is on the we divided the organization on the basis of a relationship between the administrative group and the lower level group, and the first is the compliance, in which the lower level participants agree to meet the demand placed on them by the superior because of some fear. Then the utilitarian is that they are getting return that are value to them. When we get salary, that is the utilitarian consideration. Share ideas and values, that is both administrative group as well as the lower level participate similar assumptions, norms, values, and ideas. So institution and organization, I hope this is clear. Max Weber Attizzoni's classification and definition of organization draws upon the work of Max Weber. Weber's model of bureaucracy emerges as in the broader context of his elaborate theorization on the nature of authorities in the society. So, Atzioni's work is based on the Max Weber's work, specifically the bureaucracy, the Weber's model of bureaucracy. He highlighted that the organization in industrial society were capable of attaining highest degree of efficiency if they were administered in the bureaucratic manner. Right? Weber argues that bureaucratic administration is most efficient way of organizing human resources and to attain the desired ends. Weber does not understand the bureaucracy as carrying inherent risk of too much control or inefficiency. He suggests a number of conditions that the bureaucratic administration espouses that make them most efficient form of administration. So, according to Weber, bureaucracy is bureaucratic form is that is the most efficient form of administration. Right, it is the most efficient way the organization can manage the resources or can attain the goals. But there are certain inherent risks associated with the bureaucracy, and Weber overlooked those risks, right? According to, he suggested that Weber suggested that bureaucratic administrations makes the most efficient form of administration, like a series in which officials are arranged, guided by a written statement of their power and influence. Bureaucracy, what is bureaucracy? Bureaucrats go by written rules. So, bureaucracy is a series in which officials are arranged and guided by the written rules or the statement. It is written about their power and their influences and their responsibilities and their work and at times action they can persuade. The offices are all arranged in a hierarchy, with each successive step embracing all those under it with the authority based on the office. In bureaucracy, there is a well defined hierarchy. There is a division of labor, division of power, division of authorities. Commands are issued in the capacity of the offices and obeyed because the rules state that they are within competence of the office issuing them. So, in bureaucracy, when a higher office uh, issues any commands, every lower office has to follow those commands because it is the way the bureaucracy works. So, bureaucracy is the officials. In bureaucracy, officials are arranged, are guided by a written rules. They are arranged in the hierarchy, and the commands issued in capacity of office and obeyed by the others. A clear statement of rules and procedure within which every possible contingency is theoretically provided for. Everything is written. There is a rules and procedure for each and everything. There is a statement of rules and procedures within which every possible things has to be done. All information is compulsively recorded, written down with the bureaucrats for safekeeping of all written records. It is very in short. If I say this, it is in bureaucracy. It is important to maintain the documentation. Written record is required. A contractual method of appointment in terms of technical qualification of office. There is a well-defined qualification for each and every position of office. A clear distinction is made between the personal and business official affairs written down in terms of employment and contract. So, a well defined employment contract should be there. So, bureaucracy works on the rules, written pre decided rules. In Weber's conceptualization of bureaucratic organization, individual perform specialized segmental role over which they have no control. He suggests that individuals are controlled by the roles they